what it is, everybody? Thank you for tuning back in here to another episode here on the Speedbug channel. We are talking about the mighty BMW S1000RR again today. And I posted a picture of this bad joker on my Instagiggle about a week or so ago when she crossed about 9,000 miles. She has about 9,200 miles on her right now. And she's a 2015. Now, let's talk about this bike. She's the baddest one still in the stable. Now, you've already seen the video that I made, or I released it about, you know, the few bikes that I did keep. And yes, when I turn over, you're still going to see the Ducati in the background. As I mentioned, the bike is already sold, just the individual hasn't come and picked it up yet. But, so don't still ask to say, oh, you still own the Ducatis. No, I don't. By the time this video is actually being live, the bike is no longer here. So, 9,200 miles, 2015. And if you notice that when I rated all my bikes from top to bottom, when I sold the Ducatis and stuff like that, I kept the top three: the BMW, the GSXR, and the Gromsky. Now, 9,200 miles. Now, I've only really had one issue really with this bike. And that was, now that could have been from me. And it was this throttle sensor. Every time you crank on it really hard, it would cause the bike to go into limp mode. That was a couple years ago. Whether it was me that I broke it or broke the sensor, something in it like that, or it was just a malfunction. I don't know. It really didn't matter. It was covered under warranty, and they fixed it. There was one recall on it that happened, and it was with the quick shifter and stuff like that. BMW came to pick it up. That was like when the bike was, when it first came out. But other than that, that's pretty much about it. The bike has pretty much been flawless. It's still the fastest one. Really close. The GSXR gets really close to it. But she's still, I probably have to say up top, she's still probably going to be the fastest one. Now, and that bike, you know, that's a couple years after. And bikes now today are still a lot slower than this bike when it came out, you know, 5 years ago. Now, I love this bike still. Do I like the new one? Yes. Do I like it enough to trade it in for the new one? No, well, we'll see. Again, like I say, I own this joker. There's no payments, no nothing like that. Been had it, been own it, and it's been problem-free. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. Now, just for me to start over with VVT and stuff like that I've mentioned a lot of times that this bike has, it's great, but I'm not going to start over just for some LED headlights and stuff like that. And guaranteed with the mods and work that I've done to this bike, I guarantee you this modded bike is going to probably still be faster than the new bike. As it should be, because it's modded. You really can't compare modded to new. So, for me to start all over, even if I can, you know, on the high note, get 15 grand for this bike, you know, trade-in if I pay retail for the new one, and the new one's 30, I still have to come up with 15 grand to get the new bike, and to ride it just because it's new, or to say that it's new. For what? You know, because it has a digital display and stuff like that. That's not, you know, LED headlights. That's not worth it all to, you know, for me to start over. But then again, once I see and ride the bike and see it in person and stuff like that, I'm sure I'm going to want it and stuff like that. But you still kind of have to be reasonable and stuff like that. But I don't plan, as of right now, I didn't pre-order it. My name is not on the list or anything like that to obtain the new one. But back to talking about this bike itself, almost no issues. Stock chain, still stock sprockets, gone well over 200, probably 200,000 times on this thing. And it's perfect. I haven't even actually replaced the brakes on this thing yet. Now that you mentioned, they're probably, you know, starting to get worn out. Let's take a peek. Let's look. Actually, not really. And you could see the pad and the rotor. So they actually still have plenty of pad left there in the back, and I'm sure they have plenty still in the front. But I'm sure the fronts are worn down a little bit more, considering most of your braking is done by the front anyway. But it doesn't matter. Bike has pretty much been flawless. And I can say it has been flawless. And for the normal things that are going to have to come up and do things, you know, maybe spark plugs, chain and sprocket, I always continuously lube and check my chain and sprockets and stuff like that. They're not, they don't have a lot of tight spots or anything inside of it, and so I don't really need to replace them. And it's coming up on that time, just an age where it's going to need the antifreeze flushed out, so we'll drain the antifreeze and throw some new antifreeze in it. But that's pretty much about it. And, you know, you just regularly change the oil. you know, depending on how hard you whoop and beat on it, you know, 2,500, 3,000 miles. You throw some full synthetic in it. You know, I personally use Mobil 1. I've used Castro, what BMW uses. It don't make a difference. Whatever's on sale, and it works. And hey, it keeps running. Stock clutch, you know, hundreds and hundreds of passes on it at the racetrack. And I took the clutch out just to see how many hot spots the plate has inside of it. As long as you follow the guidelines that BMW says, you know, you get 3 launches, you got to let it cool off and stuff like that. The oil and everything like that will take care of the properties and cooling the plates and the fibers off of inside the bike as it needs to do. But you got to keep your oil clean and keep it changed, you know, because it does do more than just lubricate, you know, the internals of the engine. So everything else, the bike has been flawless. Still gets the exact same gas mileage. Again, still stock spark plugs, and doesn't make any less power than it did when I first got it, you know. So when it's time to replace plugs, I think BMW says replace the plugs at 12,000 miles or so. So I'll throw some plugs in this thing, you know, for 20, 30 bucks and keep it going, you know, take them out, inspect them, see how the burn is and stuff like that. Is the electrodes corroded? Is there corrosion around the plugs? How's the burn and stuff like that? This bike does have a tune. You know, it is decatted and doesn't have a muffler or anything like that. So, and it is tuned for that. So it is running a little bit richer mixture via Power Commander. No flash or anything like that. This bike is very smart. I don't really believe in flashes on this bike. But whether Bren or other people want to say that they work, whatever. I don't care. Just enrich the fuel mixture and call it a day and let the stock BMW computer do its thing. You got to remember, there is billions and billions of dollars of R&D inside of this computer in the way that they've designed it to run. And you're going to sit here and tell me some off-the-shelf little joker that has more money than BMW. Remember, not this bike, BMW, is going to outsmart them and have the R&D to do better. I disagree. But certain other bikes and stuff like that, they just don't respond well to flash. Sure, you bump up the timing, this, that, whatever, it makes a little bit more, but it always seems to come back down, and this computer always corrects. It's not the same on the BMW as it is for the Jigster and stuff like that, but that's another debate. Again, brakes are good, pads are good. This is tire set number 2 or 3, I can't remember. And again, everything else has been flawless with the bike. So, and I have no intention actually on getting rid of this bike. And if I do, the only other bike that I would be getting rid of it for will be for the new S1000, and that's a big maybe. But this is just still, this is a bad bitch right here still, and I love it. And even though GSXR is just a little bit more comfortable, but she gets down. She gets down, and she's here to stay. So I figured I'd let you guys up on that and give you an update about any issues or anything I've had over the past, 4 or 5 years. Nothing. Not even burnt out light bulbs. Nothing. So she works great. She really does. She works great. So she's here to stay. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, but that's gonna wrap it up here, for today's video. I hope you guys like what you saw. Again, Facebook, Instagram @TheSpeedBug, same name here as YouTube. And we'll see all of y'all for another episode here on the Speedbug channel.